I think that the themes of my film come from my own life, right? I'm mixed race. My mother's Chinese. She's from Hong Kong. My dad is Australian. I was born in Japan. We immigrated to Canada when I was a child. But I wasn't even born in Japan. I was born in Okinawa. And when I was born there, it was a United Nations dependency. And so it was hard for me to leave because you needed an entry visa to get an exit visa, and I didn't have that. And so even as a baby, I was already confronted with these intricacies of sort of geopolitical decisions that had nothing to do with me. And like The Magical Life of Long Tack Sam, I mean, that's very obvious. An example of how I think, right, is that I'm following one person's life, but I'm showing how he is affected by all of these decisions that have nothing to do with him, that are made all around the world. So I'm always interested in that.
We saw that there are lots of animation elements in your movies. So what role do you think animation play in delivering messages in documentary films?
Well, I love animation, and I studied animation, and so animation is it's a tool that I have, so it's a strategy I think of easily. For example, in The Magical Life of Long Tack Sam, I spent years traveling all over the world trying to find footage, like actual film footage of him and his magic act, because I heard that it existed, but I didn't find it. And in the meantime, I was trying to think of ways of bringing his world to life. And so, now this sounds really strange, but 13 years ago, when this film came out, and I'd been working on it for 5 years before that, it was one of the first films to use animation in this way, like with moving photographs. Like now you see it everywhere, right? But this was one of the first films. And what was interesting, again, this was after I finished the film, I realized that animation was perfect to use as part of the theme of the film, because the first filmmakers were photographers and magicians, right? And you have films like the work of Méliès, for example. So here, me putting animation in this film about my great-grandfather was actually our connection, right? Like I had never met him, he died the year before I was born, but animation became a perfect, a perfect line of the narrative of the film.
I know that you worked with a fundraising organization, Indiegogo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in your latest work,
yes.
Window Horses. So do you have any suggestion or creative ways to raise funds and then to share with us?
Well, in Canada, we're really lucky in that we have a lot of government funding possibilities compared to other countries, right? But still, there's a lot of competition for it, and it's Window Horses. I spent years trying to access production funding, and was unsuccessful, and decided I would just start a crowdfunding campaign. And it's really hard work. Like whatever, have you done crowdfunding? Has anybody done crowdfunding? No. It's really hard. It's so hard. It's when people tell you that it's really like a full-time job, it really is. And I had help, right? I contacted Sandra Oh, who's a very well-known actress, right? And we've known each other for many years. And I just wanted her to be a voice in the film, because I wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign, and I knew that I needed to amplify my message, and I needed someone with her profile to help. And she loved the material so much, she loved the character and the story, that she offered to come on and be a spokesperson for the film. And so for us, we got a lot of attention for this campaign because everybody wanted to know what Sandra was thinking and what she was working on after she left Grey's Anatomy. So not everybody has this, So I thought we'd raise a lot of money really quickly from all of her fans, but in fact, people were interested. But it really is true that when you do crowdfunding, for the most part, you get it from your friends and family, right? It really is like that. But also, we did get funding from people all over the world, and it's really humbling to know that strangers are giving you money to help you make your project. And that got other funders interested, right? It was a very important piece of the financial puzzle. And also, I'm still trying to give perks away. I'm still trying to fulfill all of the obligations of the campaign almost 3 years later. So it's a huge commitment for sure, but it looks like it's more and more important for people to be able to do some sort of crowdfunding.
So one last question: do you have any tips for the young filmmakers, independent filmmakers? Yeah.
Well, tips? How?
Anyway, in any way.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everybody says this, but it's easier than ever to make films, right? Like the technology is so accessible, and I think people's skills are, people even in elementary school can make films. Like they're pretty good. I can't believe it. I can't believe what's coming out of high schools, right? I don't know. The visual literacy is really high. So I think it's just to be able to stay excited about what you're doing, right? To always stay engaged with your subject or engaged with the technology or care about what you're doing. And that's just not for film, that's for anything, right? Like, and always do stuff, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, like, you can't just think about it, you have to do it. And I think it's also really important to finish things too. Don't just start them, see them through. Even if nobody's going to see them, just know what it's like to complete things, and it makes you feel that you can do something else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.